AR network. This rabbit creature's goal is to protect the security nodes and prevent the Mimic's escape. They're connected to the Pizzaplex animatronics, giving them the ability to summon the bots to deal with intruders. There's a lot of questions surrounding mexes. Like, is the entity F10 and 4? Why is the machine's name different? And how did it get out of Murray's costume manor? Help Wanted 2's Mimic update seems to answer a few of these questions. The ending shows us the mex's machine in what appears to be a Fazbear van. We then have to type in the code 4625, which is the same frequency that F10 and 4 talked on in one of Edwin's tapes. I think this detail is used to show that F10 and 4 is still in the mex's machine. The entity also emerges after this, and it's worth noting that their sharp facial features are very similar to F10 and 4's sun face, further hinting that the entity is just a manifestation of F10 and 4. After the computer is deactivated, the van drives off with it. I think this is meant to imply that after being left in standby mode in secret of the Mimic, F10 and 4 was retrieved by Fazbear from the wreckage of MCM. Fazbear is likely also responsible for removing F10 and 4's name and replacing it with Mechanical X-Form Experimental Storage, aka Mexes, which is the name of the computer. Then after security breach, Vanessa and Gregory stole the machine from Fazbear, planning on using its Cradle program to keep the Mimic trapped. Anyways, with the Mimic contained, Gregory and Vanessa once again leave the Pizzaplex. This leads into Help Wanted 2. In this installment, our protagonist is trapped in the AR network, with an AR inhibitor keeping the security mask stuck to their face. They play through the Pizzaplex's employee training levels in the AR network, navigating categories such as Backstage, Fazcade, Staff Only, Food Prep, Ticket Booth, and Sister Location levels. Some of these levels also take place at Fall Fest, and even depict a fire destroying the event, which is likely the same fire that killed Fiona Murray. After completing a couple of these, the protagonist unlocks a Faz Wrench. The animatronic guide in the lobby, Mystic Hippo, refers to it as a key and says it should look familiar to the protagonist. It's worth mentioning that the protagonist is likely the Bonnie bully from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, and the father of Cassie. The Faz Wrench given to the protagonist is a tool used by Fazbear technicians, and it's revealed in Ruin that Cassie's father was a technician.
A Faz Wrench? It's just like my dad's.
So both Cassie's dad and the Help Wanted 2 protagonists are Fazbear technicians. Along with this, both characters are associated with Bonnie. In Ruin, a collectible lunchbox description reveals that Bonnie was Cassie's dad's favorite character, and we learn that her father collected the Freddy and Friends on Tour lunchboxes, meaning that he was likely a kid in the 80s when Freddy's was popular. In one of Help Wanted 2's endings, you can discover a secret Bonnie mask, and the protagonist says it looks familiar. A lot of people think this means that Cassie's father was the Bonnie bully in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 before becoming a Fazbear technician at the Pizzaplex. Later, a note in Ruin implies that he went somewhere, likely to investigate the Pizzaplex's sinkhole. He was probably caught by Vanny or Burntrap and trapped in the AR network, which leads to the events of Help Wanted 2. With the Faz Wrench now in hand, the protagonist can use it to open up the Pizzaplace's storage room, where they deactivate the AR inhibitor, trapping them in the network. This allows them to remove the security mask and return to the real world, where they explore the now abandoned Pizzaplex. Most notably, they attempt to repair Roxy in her salon, but she gets frustrated and instead demands that they give her a mask, which will come back later in Ruin. The trap also appears in some of these levels, revealing that he survived the Princess Quest 3 ending from Security Breach. Mystic Hippo sometimes says, some parts remain, meaning that while most of Glitchtrap's code was destroyed in the Princess Quest ending, parts of him still exist in the AR network. He sabotages the protagonist's work in the makeup levels, Bonkabon, and gives the player dolls of Afton's victims if they complete certain puzzles. These dolls are referred to as memories, so it seems like Glitchtrap does possess the memories of Afton's victims. Those play into the Princess Quest 4 ending, which we'll discuss later. Anyways, after completing all of the levels, the protagonist can collect the Fast Force action figures from the Helpy Assistant in the AR network. Once they have all of these, they can combine them into the Fazbototron. However, this also assembles Glitchtrap. It seems that similar to the tapes from Help Wanted, these figures contain parts of Glitchtrap's code, and were used as a Trojan horse to trick the protagonist into reassembling Glitchtrap. His hand emerges from a charging pod in a reference to Burntrap. Then Staffbots appear and tear the protagonist apart. They're then turned into Maskbot, a crucial character in the Mimic's plan to escape the sinkhole. This seems to be why Glitchtrap kept the protagonist alive all this time. Mystic Hippo says, so it seems like Glitchtrap kept the protagonist around to help rebuild his code in case he was defeated in Princess Quest. Speaking of which, the 4th Princess Quest arcade plays into the other ending. In this route, the protagonist collects all of Glitchtrap's memories. Something interesting about these dolls is that they seem to be based on the missing children's sprites from Five Nights at Freddy's 3's Happiest Day minigame. Both groups not only consist of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy, and the puppet, but they're also wearing masks of the animatronics. Interestingly enough, the Fast Force action figures also have the same cast of animatronics, likely as a direct parallel to the memories. Speaking of which, with all the memories collected, the protagonist can play Princess Quest 4. They're eventually pulled into the arcade and traverse through the castle until they reach the missing children's graves. After lighting all of them, they find the old man from Princess Quest 2, who trades the protagonist AR mask for the Glitchtrap plush. Speaking of him, the old man is commonly believed to be Old Man Consequences from Ultimate Custom Night, or at least a parallel to him, judging from his similar red appearance and his old age. Anyways, the protagonist then enters the elevator from Sister Location and emerges into a giant claw machine with Vanny looking in. The protagonist hands the Glitchtrap plush to the Moon, who delivers it to Vanny. You might expect her to help Glitchtrap out, but instead, she crushes him. She then waves at the protagonist and retreats into the darkness, mimicking Glitchtrap from the original Help Wanted. When you return to the lobby, Helpy is also gone, implying he was Glitchtrap in disguise, which makes a lot of sense. He was pressuring the protagonist to open the presents to assemble Glitchtrap. However, it doesn't seem like this ending is canon, as later in Ruin, Helpy returns, which wouldn't fit with him disappearing here. Considering the normal ending leads directly into Ruin and involves the protagonist dying before they play Princess Quest 4, I think it's safe to say that it's the canon route. The Princess Quest ending's inclusion of Vanny is still worth discussing though. Most people either believe that this is Vanessa disguising herself as Vanny to get close to Glitchtrap, or that Vanny has become her own evil entity after Vanessa was freed from Glitchtrap's influence, and she now has her own villainous agenda. I'm leaning more towards the latter, considering the Moon, who's the dark side of the daycare attendant, is assisting Vanny, which might imply that this is the dark side of Vanessa. Scott Cawthon also said that he hoped to see Vanny return.
I've always really liked Vanny as a character. I don't think that Vanny was utilized to her fullest potential, and so hopefully we'll see another opportunity for Vanny to return as well. We'll see.
So it seems like she'll be a solo villain in the future. With Glitchtrap being another main focus in this game, I think it's a good time to dive more into what exactly he is. Since the Frights books seem to be semi-canon, I think it's pretty safe to say that Afton is dead. And as we've discussed a bit, Glitchtrap has a lot of ties to the Mimic. Help Wanted and Secret of the Mimic's endings have some pretty obvious parallels. And Help Wanted 2 even ends with Glitchtrap kicking off the Mimic's plan to escape. So it's pretty clear that they're the same character, or at least connected. I think Secret of the Mimic sheds some light on Glitchtrap by showing us how the Mimic programs replicate personalities. In that game, we learn that F10 and 4 copies Fiona using the birthday tapes, and M2 seems to use data based on David's possessions to replicate him. Then in Help Wanted 2, we see that Glitchtrap has the memories of Afton's 6 main victims. And in the Secret of the Mimic update, it's also revealed that he has the Tiger Memory doll, clearly tying him back to the Mimic and David. So it seems like Glitchtrap is the M2 program now in possession of Afton's memories, which results in him mimicking Afton. Similar to how it initially copied David, and how F10 and 4 copied Fiona. I'm still not sure why exactly he decided to copy Afton this long, but as seen in Secret of the Mimic's storytime ending, the Mimic can fully commit to copying one person, in this case, Afton. However, it's not clear how he obtained Afton's memories. It's possible that he witnessed some of Afton's murders, judging from how we see Glitchtrap recreating them in Pizza Party. Or maybe he learned about Afton from the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience and the indie games. As previously discussed, the Mimic programs can learn about people from recordings or objects relating to them. So it's definitely possible that the Fazbear Entertainment games gave the Mimic all the information it needed to replicate Afton. It's Fnaf, so who knows for sure. Overall though, I think Glitchtrap is clearly meant to be the Mimic. Ruin and Secret of the Mimic even bathe him in purple lighting. Along with that, as we previously discussed, his R&D costume has him wearing a rabbit head, which isn't just a random design choice. It was very notably a consistent feature in his concept art. Speaking of Secret of the Mimic, Glitchtrap's hand puppet in Bonkabon is very similar to the MCM hand puppets. Both of these details further solidify that Glitchtrap is the Mimic. Back to the present, Help Wanted 2's update implies that after turning the protagonist into Maskbot, the Mimic decides to stop copying Afton. As Mystic Hippo says,
is ready to take a bow.
And the performer in question is revealed to be the Mimic.
Leslie Sprite.
so I guess he just got bored of being glitch trapped, which lines up with him missing his burn trap costume later on. And we finally get to our last stop on the FNAF timeline. Security Breaches DLC, Ruin. Sometime after the events of Help Wanted 2, the Mimic sends a message to Cassie. The animatronic impersonates Gregory to trick her into helping release him. She returns to the abandoned Pizzaplex, where she encounters Maskbot. As previously established, this animatronic is possessed by the protagonist from Help Wanted 2, aka Cassie's dad. As part of the Mimic's plan, Maskbot delivers the security mask to Cassie, allowing her to access the AR network, where she meets Helpy. Just like in Help Wanted 2, this guy is clearly the Mimic in disguise. Throughout the DLC, his eyes will sometimes turn orange, signifying that the endoskeleton is controlling him. This further implies that Glitchtrap is the Mimic, since they both use Helpy as a disguise. If you're confused as to why the endoskeleton is using Helpy of all characters, there is a reason. In Secret of the Mimic, Edwin and Fiona are represented by their puppets Mr. and Mrs. Helpful. These bears are likely the parents of Helpy. Note Mr. Helpful's hat, bow tie, white fur, and Mrs. Helpful's purple accents. Mix them together and you get Helpy. Considering the Mimic was originally supposed to copy David, it makes sense that he'd appear as the son of the Murray's mascots. Speaking of the Murrays, F-10-4 manifests as an entity in the AR network and will summon the ruined animatronics to stop Cassie from unknowingly freeing the Mimic. Eventually, she reaches the daycare, where she discovers the daycare attendant. The moon is in control of their body in the real world, while the sun has been repressed into the AR network. Using her Faz wrench, she manages to reboot the animatronic, turning him into Eclipse, who, judging from the name, is a fusion of the sun and moon's personalities. Eclipse flies her out of the daycare, and she continues on her journey. Later on, she reaches the Roxy Salon, where Roxanne Wolf is still crying in the exact same position from Help Wanted 2. Roxy almost catches Cassie, but is distracted by the voice of the real Gregory trying to contact her. And we know this is the real Gregory, since later, he says he's been trying to reach her all night, and in Chapter 5, you can get a rare Easter egg of him trying to contact Cassie through a staff bot.
Cassie, is that you?
Gregory?
Roxy runs after Gregory's voice, and Cassie follows her into the abandoned Foxy log ride. While it was never open due to safety concerns, in Help Wanted 2, there is a full version of the attraction in the AR network. There was a Foxy ride in Curse of Dreadbear 2, and both of these seem to be based on Foxy's original puppet show from Murray's Costume Manor. All of Fazbear's Foxy rides even reference the show's ending.
Foxy, you did it! You did it! You found the perfect present for the captain!
I did?
The perfect present was friendship all along!
The real treasure was friendship all along. Happy birthday! And the real treasure was friendship all along.
Back to Ruin, Cassie climbs to the ride's flooded floor, where Monty appears and swims around in the water. After jumping across the breeze to avoid him, Cassie powers up a conduit to open a door, but it also activates a Glamrock Bonnie neon sign. In an ironic moment, this sign electrocutes the water and fries Monty, which seems to kill him. Once again, karma sucks. Cassie continues to the raceway, and eventually, Roxy grabs her.
Give me back my eyes!
Ah! Let go! Let go!
I'm sorry. Error.
It seems like this somehow caused Roxy to malfunction and break free from the mech's security, which will be important later. Anyways, Cassie finally gets the Mimic's signal again, and he tells her to deactivate the remaining security nodes to save him. She shuts down the Bonnie Bull node and goes to Phaser Blast to deactivate the last one. But as she's leaving, she encounters Freddy's decapitated body. After losing his head, his body is turned into a mindless monster. Some people think this isn't the same Glamrock Freddy from Security Breach, since on his foot you can see the word prototype. However, judging from him being in the exact same location and decapitated state as Glamrock Freddy, I think it's safe to assume it's his body. I believe the prototype label on the foot is instead there to explain why he broke down in Security Breach. It's because Glamrock Freddy was a prototype. Luckily, Cassie escapes the malfunctioning Freddy and returns to the raceway. But the Mimic tells her that Roxy's the final security node and needs to be deactivated. In a heartbreaking moment, Cassie reluctantly does just that.
Your special day. I remember. Your special day. Do you still like carrot cake? It has been some time since I saw you last. If I remember correctly, it is on the 11th. I remember because you are number 1. Twice. Cassie? What are you doing?
Sorry.
I love carrot cake. Happy birthday, Cassie.
Roxy. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
With Roxy deactivated, the sinkhole entrance opens and Cassie journeys into the abyss. Eventually, she ends up in the pizza place basement and finds the Mimic's prison. She also discovers the F-10-4/Mex's supercomputer and deactivates it, which shuts down its security program and opens the Mimic's prison. After driving a forklift through the concrete blocking the doorway, Cassie jumps into the room and comes face to face with the Mimic.
You're not Gregory. What are you?
I'm Gregory. Cassie! Get out of here! Run!
Cassie flees into the caves and is contacted by the real Gregory, who helps her flee the endoskeleton. Speaking of the Mimic, him and Roxy fighting is very interesting. As if you remember, Roxy was created by Fiona and Edwin made the Mimic, lending extra significance to their fight. Also, if you're confused as to how Roxy is still running around after Cassie deactivated her, well, so am I. It's possible that the Faz wrench just deactivated the security node attached to her and Roxy was rebooted. Anyways, the endoskeleton chases Cassie back into the pizza place basement, where she finds an old elevator that she manages to power up. After escaping, Gregory explains to Cassie that the Mimic tricked her into deactivating the Mex's security, and now it's free. He tells her they can't risk being followed and drops the elevator, plunging Cassie into the depths, where the DLC ends on a cliffhanger. There's a lot of speculation as to who really dropped the elevator. Was it Gregory? Or maybe it was the Mimic or F-10-4 copying him? As for now, nothing is certain. After the credits roll, you can hear Roxanne Wolf calling out for Cassie. And once again, it's not clear if this is actually her or someone mimicking her. Considering how powerful and brutal the Mimic can be, I think it's reasonable to assume that the endoskeleton destroyed her. So it could be mimicking Roxy to trick Cassie once again. There are also 2 other endings. In the Scooper ending, the Mimic dresses up in an amalgamation of MCM costumes, which seems to have been built to resemble Gregory. Note the similar blue shirt with white accents, brown hair, and an orange accessory on their left arms. Most of the ending plays out the same, but during the Mimic chase, Cassie flees down a hallway that she opened earlier using the Pizzaplex cameras. She escapes into an observation room and activates a scooper, possibly the same one from Sister Location, which drags the Mimic away and removes him from the costume, saving her life, but still letting the endoskeleton get away. During the Brazil ending, she puts on the mask during the chase, and enters a scene of Gregory, Vanessa, and Helpy sitting together on a hill, as 5 balloons float into the distance, likely representing Afton's victims at rest. It seems like this AR landscape was made by the security mask to give Cassie a peaceful ending before the Mimic kills her. It's not clear as to what ending is canon, but regardless of the case, the Mimic is now free, which I'm sure will be the main focus of future games. For now, this is the end of the Five Nights at Freddy's timeline. It has been a wild ride and I can't wait to see what's next. As a longtime fan of the series, I've loved seeing the story evolve and develop over the years. I don't often touch upon Scott's games, the spin-offs, or Frights, so it was a treat for me to discuss them here. While I haven't loved everything the series has produced, I adore the newest entries, and I'm really excited for the Mimic's role in the future. We hope you all enjoyed this timeline as much as we enjoyed making it. And if you did like it, then be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next projects. Please also consider joining our monthly membership. It helps support us, and you get a bunch of cool perks like shoutouts in our videos, custom emojis, badges next to your name, exclusive looks at upcoming projects, and more. Special thanks to our current member, Shonda Toy, and thanks to you for watching. Be sure to check out some of our other videos.